Hi, this is Nitty Knotty Hand Dyed Yarn, here to show you how to get started knitting. So first thing, you'll want to make sure you have the right supplies for whatever project you're making. So you'll need to start with a pattern of some type, either downloaded or a pattern book. You can buy those lots of different places. Ravelry, the craft store, Etsy has lots that you can buy. So get your pattern, find something that you like. I would start with a pattern labeled as beginner, so that it's not going to be too complicated while you're trying to learn how to knit. On the pattern, it should recommend a weight size and the yardage you will need of yarn. So you can have lots of different kinds of yarns. This particular yarn is one of my yarns, and it is hand dyed. It is chunky weight, and it is approximately 109 yards for one ball. Okay, this one I got at a craft store, and it is an acrylic one, and it gives you all the yardage and everything right here, 435. And this is level 3, which is a little bit lighter than a worsted weight, but ideally on a lot of the labeling for commercial yarns, you'll see a size, so a 3, 2, 4, what have you, 5. On a lot of hand-dyed yarns, you're going to see more descriptive term like chunky weight or worsted weight, fingering weight yarn. But in your pattern, it should tell you what you need and how much you need. If you are just practicing, you don't have a pattern yet, on the labels of commercially available yarn, it usually will give you a recommended needle size. On a lot of hand-dyed yarn, you won't get that. But there are standard tables that you can start with if you want to look for those online. Everybody knits a little bit differently, so your tension will affect what size needles you'll need, but this is a good starting point. Okay? So once you know what yarn you're going to use, what your pattern is, and you know what needles you'll need, you know the size. There's different types of needles. So we have straight kneading needles, and those are good for flat projects, scarves, things like that, anything that's going to be flat. You have circular needles, which are 2 needles connected with a cord. Now you can find them already connected and a different needle with each wire, or you can get like these, which are interchangeable. So I can take this cord off and move these needles onto a different cord, or if I need this size cord, I can put other needles on this cord. They're interchangeable. These are what I prefer, but everybody likes something a little bit different. Those are good for round projects especially, but can also be used for flat, so they're more versatile. Then you have double pointed needles. Now, double pointed needles, if they have a point on either end, that is not something you would want to use just alone for a flat project. So the difference between these is that on the straight needles, you have a stopper at one end, so your project can't fall off the back. Okay, with double pointed needles, it could slide right off if your project gets too long. So these would be used for basically closing the top of a hat or a toe of a sock. You're using them to make smaller circles than your circular needles can fit on the wire. It's too long, it stretches the yarn out too much. So then we switch to these, and I'll show you how to use these in a later video, but for right now, just know that these are used to close the top of a round project that's too small for this. Okay, so we're not going to use those today, and we're not going to use these. So once you have your yarn, your needles, and you're ready to knit, then we will start with casting on. Okay, now casting on is, there's several different ways to do it. I prefer the long tail cast on method. So that's what I'm going to show you today. But your pattern should tell you which cast on. If it doesn't, long tail cast on is fine, but if there's a different cast on method, then you would want to use that method. Okay, so with a long tail cast on, you're going to measure your length of your yarn based on 3 times the amount of the length you want your project starting at. So if it's a hat, kind of measure around your head, and do 3 of those. If it's a scarf and you want the scarf yay wide, then you're going to measure 3 times that and leave that long tail close to your body, and the yarn that goes to the ball stays in the back. Okay, now you'll take 1 needle and you're going to just kind of put that on the needle there, hold it with your thumb. We're not going to really do much with this needle right now, it's just a space holder. Okay, now with the rest of the yarn, if you ever did cats in a cradle as a kid with the yarn, that's basically what you're doing. So you're holding the yarns with your 3 fingers here. Leave these 2 free. So grasp the yarn here, then you're going to put both your thumb and your index finger inside the yarn, and then spread it out and tip it up. Okay, you'll feel the yarn slide through these fingers. You don't need to hold it so tight that they can't move, just hold them snug. Okay, so grab them in, flip up. Okay, once you're ready there, you're going to take this needle, still holding this with your thumb, you're going to slide it under the outside yarn on your thumb, the inside yarn on your first finger, and pull it through those 2 that are on your thumb. And then once you pull it up, you'll see you have a second loop. Let go with your thumb, and then use your thumb to tighten that. Doesn't need to be super tight, doesn't need to be like squeeze, squeeze, just snug. Okay, and then you'll do it again. Outside of your thumb, inside of your finger, and then through the 2 yarns on your thumb. Let go with your thumb and snug that yarn up right there. Not super tight, just snug. Okay, watch it again. Outside of the thumb, inside of the finger, through the 2 on the thumb, let go, snug it up. Okay, and then that is casting on. So your pattern should tell you how many stitches to cast on. You do count that first one that you did. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cast on. I'm going to go ahead and cast some on, and then you can practice that. Our next video will be on doing the knit stitch. So we'll come back to this and get ready for the knit stitch, but practice your cast ons, and then when you're ready, move on to the next video.